Welcome back to Tales Arcane and to the penultimate episode of Heroes of the Highlands, The Fate of the Fallen. Thank you if you've watched this far. You're on episode 7. I believe there'll be probably one episode after this, and then we are into that will be the finale. But tonight I think is going to be the real denouement. Our heroes are coming to the end of this quest, and we're going to find out who lives, who dies, who makes it out in one piece from tonight's adventure. Thank you to Jessica Bone, who provided the wonderful art at art.of.job over on Instagram. You can find links to her socials down below this video. And as always, a big thank you to the wonderful Nerdius Maximus, who does all of the music that you hear. You can find Nerdius' stuff over on Patreon. Links to both their socials down below. So, without further ado, let's have a quick recap of last week's session, and then let's dive in. Long ago, 1,000 years ago in fact, Rannoch, the king's brother, he came down here and he fought a great battle.
It said that an angel gave him the sword to fight in the battle, but it didn't do very much because he died anyway. And he was buried with the sword should anyone in the valley ever need it again, but the tomb is missing and they don't know where it is.
You see two white wings unfurl, framing this figure as the angel appears before you.
What is your mission?
To kill Rannoch first.
He's dead.
And to end his bloodline forever.
Who locked you in here?
Those who worship demons. The sun will set 3 times, and then my work will begin. As we begin tonight's session, we are in the small hours of the morning. You are in Dunalkin Castle. The flames are burning low, having consumed the bandits' camp. You succeeded in vanquishing the Cambion and her crew, succeeded in finding and freeing the archaeologist Markel Mar, and you are now getting ready to return to the village of Kinrannoch. Glut, when last we left off, you were fashioning a kind of sled upon which you would be able to bear your companions back to the village. You successfully did that. You built this object. You are going to have to drag this thing essentially all night and into the following morning. But if you do that, taking 2 levels of exhaustion, your companions are able to get long rests.
Yeah, well, Glut doesn't really know how magic works, but she does know that Zell and Boglak need to sleep for their magic to work. And Glut's magic, which is stabbing things and punching things really hard, doesn't really require sleep to be effective with it. So, that's kind of like Glut's rationale in that in her mind. So yeah, she's going to be like a one-woman pack horse.
Excellent. Then, through the small hours of the night, this strange sight, if anyone was around on these quiet roads to see, it would be very bizarre. This small figure, the smallest person in the party, dragging this roughly constructed contraption down, bumping down the narrow road through Glen Erlin back towards the village. Glut, you're not moving particularly fast. No matter how fast you go, you are dragging this intense weight behind you. Not just the weight of this wooden contraption, but the weight of your 2 companions on it. So progress is much slower than it would be were you just walking back. But the benefit here is, of course, that your friends are able to get that rest. Boglak and Zell, you're kind of bumping slightly every now and then, every time you go over a pebble, but you guys are exhausted. Boglak especially, I mean, you twice came within an inch of your life, and at first when you lie down you have that sense of, there's no way I can sleep under these conditions, and yet within moments you're just drifting down into darkness. Just the moment you can lie down and relax, it is a relief. You know that time is running out, but the night passes away, the sun rises the next day, you're fitfully coming in and out of your sleep. After a little while, as the sun begins to climb in the sky, you are both coming to wakefulness. I'd say you can continue your long rest if you also want to maybe sit up and do any kind of small light activity like anything you want to say to each other or to Glut, who's panting away at the front, or even anything you're thinking right now as you begin to surface as you bounce down the valley towards the village.
Not really. Zell's just very nervous about what's coming next and what they're going to be dealing with when they get back there because of the whole undead component. So,
Absolutely.
I think she's just, yeah.
How do you guys feel about your chances?
Oh, Glut's feeling good.
Good.
Glut. I like. Like Glut feels fatigued, like physically, but like mentally, they're never sharper than when they've just done like a long duration of like intense physical labor. And obviously, they couldn't have done much more intense physical labor than just drag their two companions through the woods throughout like an entire night. So Glut's mind the entire time has just been thinking like, how am I going to kill that angel? She's just like, I've got could rip its head off, I could stab it, I could like crush its head in between my hands, like. I've got so many, and keeps thinking again, like, I need to remember the feathers, though. Zale could probably use them for, like, magic arrows or something. So I gotta remember, I can't destroy the wings. That is also, like, Glut's managers. I cannot destroy the wings.
I like the idea that all the way down the roads, Zell and Boglak are looking over going, poor Glut, putting herself through this physical hardship. What's she thinking right now? And Glut's just going, I can't wait to kill an angel, as you're bouncing along down the road. The sun climbs high in the sky, begins to creep down in the west. As you reach around about 5 o'clock, 4 or 5 the next day, you return to the village of Kinrannoch. You've got a couple of hours of daylight left ahead of you, and you can see down below you the road winds down through some sparse trees that press in around the northern perimeter of the village. You can see trails of smoke rising up from the chimneys. It looks deceptively peaceful from a distance, although you do hear distantly the sounds of hammers, of saws, of wood being cut and prepared. You notice that in certain areas between the buildings on the edges of town, barricades have been thrown up, spiked palisades blocking off lanes and alleyways that were hitherto unguarded. The stone wall that rings part of the village, long since tumbled, has been partially shorn up with smaller wooden defences. A couple of wagons have been drawn in to limit the space through which the village can be entered. There's still a clear gap between two of these wagons that have been set up on the edge of town, marking the perimeter of the defences. As you rattle in, you see the constable looks up, sweating, sleeves rolled up, hands dirty and slightly bloodied from the work that he's been undergoing. He looks up and goes, "Oh, you made it back. Glut, how are you?"
Oh, Mr. Stable, it is very good to see you again, my friend. However, now that they've like stopped pulling the wagon, they're going to drop to their knees and just fall asleep in the road.
Constable looks down and goes, "The spirit of Tyr is moving through Glut. It's a very intense experience, I imagine. Did you fare well up north? Did you find the lassie who went up there?"
Yes, we did actually, and she gave us some good information. She said the sword is definitely in the town.
Splendid. Where is it?
We don't know where in the town, but it's here somewhere.
Constable looks
So-
slightly concerned and goes, "Well, you know what they say. In the hour of need, the sword will pass to a worthy soul. So maybe it just means our hour of need hasn't arrived yet. That will be a little bit later on. We had a wee bit of bother, by the way."
Oh, I was gonna say, it's looking good here. It looks like everybody took us seriously when we said there was a threat coming, but what happened? Why was there bother?
Well, admittedly, once we all sobered up, a couple of the lads started saying that things might have gotten a bit out of control and maybe there wasn't as much of an impending doomsday scenario as Glut made out. I tried to tell them, but, people started to get sceptical. Then there was a great sound, a thunderous roar like a war horn echoing down the glen.
Mm-hmm.
the bodies of the dead rose. There were two of them. It appears that
Only
the
two?
others... Yes, well, it appears that the others are awake, but they're as rotten corpses. They're unable to fight their way out of their graves. But a couple of the graves, we're not entirely sure what happened, but a couple of the graves, they've been kind of, I don't know, burst open already. Maybe animals had got at them. A couple of the coffins have been broken in. Those ones just burst open. But strange things, they didn't attack us or anything. We've heard of undead before, restless dead. It's not unheard of. They just walked out down the village, rotten corpses, their eyes ablaze with light, like the light of a star. They walked out of the village, heading northeast. We let them pass. After that, the folks started thinking that there might be a bit more to what you were saying, you know. It kind of feels like a judgment is coming to the glen. So we started to look lively, did the best we could, armed ourselves, and we are ready. We're at your disposal.
Fantastic.
What is
Okay.
the-
You go, Bugler.
Sorry. I was just going to say, what is to the northeast?
Well, that's up towards the waterfall, up towards the caves.
Right. Okay.
Okay, well that makes sense because that's where we encountered. And then she kind of
Gotcha.
trails off because she can't remember how much the constable knows. But at this point, is there any point in keeping it a secret?
I don't think there's
That-
any secrets in there.
That's where we originally encountered the angel.
You mean the demon? There's demons coming, you said.
Demon? Demonic angel would maybe be a better term?
Listen, I've never gone in for theology myself, but I understand that there's some kind of anti-tier force coming to attack the town. I don't pretend to understand the great goings-on in the world, but I understand that our worship of Tyr has made us a target for the forces of darkness.
Sure.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Aye,
You've grown up in this town your whole life, right?
born and bred.
So you would be a descendant of Kinrannoch.
Well, I like to think so. My family's lived around here for as long as I can remember, so I think there's a bit of the blood in the veins.
Use
Perfect.
that. How would you feel if we took a walk? Zelle's still on this sword on the statue, potentially being the sword, and she really needs to rule it out before this fight happens. How would you feel if we took a walk? So the archaeologist that we met said that blood from a descendant of Kinrannoch will release the sword where it is. And obviously there's a really great potential replica, something of the sword on that statue in town, which is as old as the town itself. And I just wondered how you would feel if we cut your hand or something and just tested if that is the sword.
How much blood do you need?
I mean, she actually didn't clarify. I'm hoping just a little.
Okay, you know who else is filled with the blood? Paddy over at the tavern. I've heard he's a direct descendant, you know?
I mean, aren't you all
Yeah, but-
direct descendants?
I guess. Look, looks down at Gloot for a moment and goes,
This is what Gloot would want.
aye,
This is what...
if it is Tyr's will, where do you need my blood?
The statue at the town centre with the sword. I just want to know if it's that sword.
Okay. He kind of awkwardly starts walking along with you guys. He goes, Should we put her
She'll
somewhere?
be fine. She'll be fine.
Okay. He walks with you back into the center of the town. You can see, basically at this point, there's 3 routes into the town now. There's a road running in from the north, from the east, and from the south. Every other approach has pretty much been heavily blocked off. And you can see, although the townsfolk they're not fighters, they're not warriors. They have come a long way from the days of Rannoch and the great warriors of old. They are looking battle ready. They're carrying scythes, spades, broken bottles that they've taken from the it looks like they might have ransacked Paddy's tavern to get some bottles which they've now broken, ready to glass anyone who comes into town. A couple of them have taken the broken shards of the broken window at Tam Tamson's and have attached these broken shards of glass to the ends of old branches. They've formed into sort of 3 squadrons who seem to be covering the different entrances to the town, patrolling and in some cases fixing up further defences. You approach the statue in the centre of the town. You see a familiar figure sitting at the base of the statue, straw coming out of his mouth. Looks quite surly and looks like he's trying and not very successfully fashioning a rudimentary weapon at the moment, a large wooden board with a nail in the end of it.
Hello, Tam.
Hello there. It seems the great warriors have returned.
Yep. Do you mind just stepping to the side for me?
Oh, more than happy to. He gets up and walks to the side. If you need any information about the statue, I've heard there's some good storytellers in the village. I might be able to give you some information, but I wouldn't be one of them, so I won't bother. And he wanders off. Constable goes, I don't know what's up with Tam. He's been a bit odd the last 12 to 24 hours. It's a bit weird, but anyway, looks up. You're standing beneath this statue, this image of a muscular Highland figure, flowing kilt, long flowing hair and beard, hand upraised, clasping this sword high overhead. The constables. So what happens now?
Sure. What if we need to get the blood on the sword?
I think that would be best.
I wish Glute was here. She would be able to climb up perfectly.
I mean, you've been known to climb, Zell.
Oh, so I have.
You climbed onto the roof. Yeah, you climbed onto the roof for the ambush.
Okay. How do we get the blood up there? And you're right. How much blood do we need?
Well, maybe not a bucket, because that might scare you, Constable. Maybe a
glass. A little glass.
Tankard. It's not going to be a bucket. A tankard.
It's very pale.
Full.
A tankard? You want a
No,
pint
but it's
of my
not going to
blood?
be full. It's not going to be full. It's not going to be full. We're just going to cut you a little. Cut you a little and get some of the blood in the glass. I'll carry the glass up there and pour it on the sword, and we'll see if it works. It might not work. I really hope it does.
I would say that you see Bogla go very quiet and then goes, Zell, can I just have a quick word while we go and get that glass?
Sure. Constable, can you stay here?
Aye, no problem. Kind of awkwardly sits down in the base of the statue.
Okay, Zell's gonna walk forward. Yeah?
What's the wording of the thing that the archaeologist said? Spill blood?
Yeah?
With that,
identify and release. Something about releasing the sword with what? Yeah.
With spilling blood. Because spilling blood means kill someone, does it not? Like.
Well, I don't know. I guess I just kind of took it that we just need like a little bit of.
I did too, but it sort of just hit me now that like if I were to say I will spill the blood of my enemies, it doesn't mean you take some of their blood and pour it onto the battlefield. It's like murder.
But surely in the hundreds of years since the battle, blood has been spilled here. So why hasn't the sword?
I mean, true. It is true. I'm just saying if it doesn't work, it might still be the statue sword. But we should try it. But I feel like
I
the
mean,
spill blood is...
Zel's gonna glance over at Tam. Be like, we could.
Did you just glance at Tam? I mean, I don't care for the guy, but I'm not spilling his blood.
I'm just saying, if there was one
for a
person
sword.
in this village that we needed to spill the blood of, like, it wouldn't be the end of the world. He already
I'm
hates
sure
us.
there's worse people in this village than Tam.
What are we supposed to do?
It's hard
Say,
to
like,
think of a name, but
hey, do you have any really horrible people here, and would you mind if they died? Like, you can't.
well, how about this? You go and get the glass, and I'll ask the constable if there's any really horrible people in this village, because maybe there is. And then we know if in the heat of battle we're the losing side, we know someone who could be sacrificed for the cause.
Okay, I'll go
It's
get the
not
glass. You do that. But it could be Tam. I'm just saying, he might actually be the worst person here. You don't know.
I mean, I don't care for the guy, but I feel like you've really turned on Tam. I feel like I've been okay. I showed up at the guy's door drunk and insulted him, and I feel like I've been less abrasive towards him than you.
I'm saying he was really rude to me, and I don't like that. And it's not like I want him to die. It's just that in this situation, if someone had to die, he'd be the person I picked because I like him the least. I wouldn't choose to kill him.
You're saying what you're saying. You're not saying, but
I wouldn't
it's
choose.
fine. I believe you. I believe you.
If it's an unavoidable situation in which someone needs to die, I'm gonna pick the person I like the least. It's logical.
You see, like Boglak start to sweat a little as he's like, "Am I pissing off Zell now?" Like, I know what happens. I know what happens when Zell gets angry at you. So Boglak just becomes very apologetic and walks away, going, "Oh no, it's fine. I completely agree. I'm on your side. You're on mine. We're peas in a pod."
Zell's gonna go get the glass, still being like, I'm just thinking, it's logical.
You're in head.
So,
You notice that the tavern is open. Remember, the door got absolutely trashed and broken up to use for weaponry. So the door is open. You go inside. It looks like the place has been kind of stripped for parts. There's tables have been dragged outside to use in barricades. A couple of people seem to have commandeered beer barrels, perhaps for barricades, perhaps for other purposes. A lot of gaps behind the bar. You're able to find a glass, a small whiskey glass or a large tankard. It's up to you which one you take.
Let's go for a tankard just because I think it'll be easier to carry up the statue. This is a terrible plan. And she's gonna head back over.
I see you've got a big tankard there.
Yep.
I'm not gonna fill it completely with your blood, just a little bit at the bottom. I just thought this would be easier to carry up the statue.
Okay. What happens now?
Boglak, do you want to ask the constable anything?
I will take. I'm sure I have some component in my component pouch that's like a stick or a particularly sharp plant or something like that I can sort of do a wee cut on the constable's finger, maybe. I don't want to freak him out, but just like getting a good drip. It's just not a sentence Boglak thought he would ever say. And while over the like little bit of time that it'll take to drip out a good amount, I'll just say, Constable, a fine town you run here. I mean, people have really jumped arms to defend what they believe in. Is there anybody who hasn't? Is there anybody who you just think, typical them, always out for themselves, wouldn't do anything for this town, you know?
Or any criminals?
Or any criminals, but criminals could also be turning a new leaf at this point, and be fighting for a just cause.
We do have one person. Now you mention it, comes to mind a dark-hearted bastard.
Oh, I can imagine.
Kenneth Kilvale. You might have heard of him,
Damn.
no?
Never
No,
heard of him. Tell me
Thankfully
more.
not.
Kenneth. His comes from a long line of troublemakers last year when we were holding the annual fair. They did the raffle.
Hmm.
He paid for 5 tickets. But I saw when he reached over to take the tickets from the booklet, he ripped off a 6th. Didn't pay for it, just took it. Now,
Oh.
afterwards, he apologised. He said it was an accident. He gave that extra ticket back, and he actually paid double for his tickets, but
Oh.
the intention was there. You know, he had a glint in his eye. Other than that, no, everyone in this town is lovely.
Are they all lovely?
Stand up,
that's
folks,
rare,
especially
if
that Tam
anything.
Tamsin over there.
Oh, perfect.
These are the
Is there
best.
anybody's too stand up then? Like, you know how sometimes in
Paddy.
small villages and towns somebody's too much of a stand up person, and
But you
think
can tell
they're
it's
hiding
all like
something.
fake and it's a big show and they're hiding something. Is there anyone like that?
Oh, honestly, folk around here,
Oh.
pretty solid.
So there's nobody. I mean, if anybody falls in this battle, you're going to be shedding tears. There's
Devastated.
nobody that you think.
This is a
I won't be
tight-knit
shedding
community, and we look out for each other. We're like family. Literally, we might all be related. It's,
It's
I mean-
actually a little concerning. I mean, how much?
cousins of cousins, you know, don't worry about it. But, yeah, it will be rough if we lose anyone, but I'm hoping that under your guidance we'll be able to make it through. Now let's get this blood on the go.
Okay.
Oh, it's already been dripping.
Oh,
Yeah,
listen,
it's been dripping the
If
whole
anything,
time.
look easy. Yeah,
that was such
easy peasy.
a delicate little move. I didn't even feel that. A few drops of blood falling out from his finger, filling the bottom of the tankard. He looks at the dripping finger and goes, "I am a martyr for Tyr."
Yes,
You
you
are.
are. And you have given us. You've sacrificed to give us something
You have
today. so-
spilt your blood for this town, and it's our need.
Absolutely.
I would say.
Mhm.
Do you think Glute would be proud of me?
I think Gloot would be so proud of you. In fact, when she wakes up, this is the first thing you should tell her.
Good.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't work, the intent was there. Okay, so Zelle's gonna pick up the tankard and she's gonna try and like work out, is there a way I can like carry that? Like, you know, I don't really want to do a one-handed climb.
But it can't be that tall a statue, so why don't you
How
just
tall
climb
is
up
the
and then
statue actually?
It's
It's
about
really tall for some reason.
It's about 10 feet tall. So
Oh,
with a
okay.
boost up from Boglak, you could kind of scramble up onto it holding. I'd say you would have to make an athletics check or an acrobatics check to scramble up onto it.
At this moment,
Okay.
Gloat starts walking over to the group, just entirely like caked in mud from just lying in the middle of the road, just like big over her shoulder, like, thanks for just letting me keep on the road there, guys. You guys know me too well. Zale, if you're gonna climb a statue with a tankard in your mouth, you should hold the tankard in your mouth and tilt your head to the side. Come on, man, have you never climbed a statue with a tankard in your mouth before?
No, amazingly I haven't. But it's okay, it's not that big. I'll climb up and Boglak, you can hand me the tankard. when I'm-
Glute, it's my blood on the tankard. It's look, my finger, it's my blood.
Wait, is that your blood in the
That's
tankard?
I shed blood for Tyr.
Constable, see if you're not needing this town after this is all over, you should join us. We could use another badass like you.
True.
Never gone on pilgrimage before, but I might have to think about that.
I was going to say, if the statue's only 10 foot high, you could just get into my shoulder cell, because I'm about 7.
Perfect.
I think.
Okay, I'll do that.
I think Boglak's height is not set in stone. It's not a concrete lower. I feel like
Well, it is
I feel like
now.
around-
Seven.
it is 7 foot now.
There's going to be
Probably
some really
something I said
pivotal
wasn't, but-
moment later on where,
Yeah.
like, you have to fit through a gap, and I'm like, but you're 7 feet tall, so it just doesn't.
I know.
You can, you can
I
scramble up. And,
realised that even Zell will have been looking up to speak to Boglak. Okay,
yes.
so yeah, Zell's gonna hop and scramble onto Boglak's shoulders. Do you want me to do a check of anything?
I'd say, uh, give me just an acrobatics check once you're up there to see if you're able to sort of stay balanced and upright.
Okay.
Oh, I've never
15.
done this before.
15?
15. Yeah.
Beautiful. You are able to quite nimbly scramble up onto Boglach's wide shoulders, get a good stance, one hand on the statue. You're eye to eye with this ancient Highland warrior, presumably Rannoch himself, beard flowing down the front of his chest. You're holding the tankard in your hand, the sword upraised, this large, it looks to be like a single piece of stone fused into the hand. It almost looks like the entire statue is made from a single block that was hewn down, sword, body and all.
Once she's up there, she's going to be like, oh, from this angle I can really appreciate the stonemanship. It's very nice. And she's going to hold the tankard up and just slowly kind of like try and get all the blood drops on the sword, like on the actual sword blade.
Jump, and you let that blood pour down. It's already congealing. It drips down, begins to run in slow rivulets along the blade. Over the years, little pieces of lichen and moss have come to cling to the stone. The blood soaks through them, turns them red. It runs along. For a moment, nothing happens. You're standing there, feeling the warm late evening sun on your face. Then you notice suddenly how cold the stone is under your hand. And you notice what almost appears to be frost crusting the stone blade in front of you. You look around, you realize everything around you is very dim, very dark. There's a flurry of snowflakes in the air. Your companions are no longer there. You're standing on the ground. You look round to see the statue. The statue is gone. In its place, there's simply a stone column. Your hand is pressing against that. You turn again. You stand at the edge of a stone circle. White snow covers the ground. The sky overhead is gloomy and dark. And distantly, you hear a whispering voice echoing out of the gloom somewhere on the far side of the stone circle. You glance around, you can see dark trees, leafless, crusted with snow, pressing in beyond the perimeter of the stone circle, at the edge of which you now stand, as the voice reaches out and says, "Who comes before me, spilling the blood of Rannoch?"
My name's Zell.
"Why are you here?
I'm trying to find the sword.
Are you
The sword of Rannoch.
worthy to bear the sword?"
I'm not sure.
You see that emerging on the far side of the stone ring is a figure. Broad-shouldered, muscular, bare-chested, a long kilt hanging around his waist, a tangle of a red beard flowing down the front of his chest, although the beard is crusted with snow and ice. As the figure of Rannoch steps out into the stone circle, his head is cast down, looking towards the snow underfoot, and his voice whispers again, carried on the winter winds towards you, as he says, "Has the hour come at last? Are my people in need?
Yes.
Keep
And-
the old ways."
Yes.
What do you think he means by that when he says, "Do they keep the old ways"? What motivates your response?
Probably that they keep the demonic stuff going on. But she's not very sure because she is so not. She was
Yeah.
kind of just expecting that this sword would like fall from the statue. So this is not how Zell thought this was going to go at all. She's feeling very out of her depth.
In that case, give me a deception check as you say yes.
Okay. 4?
There's a long silence, and you hear,
Oh no.
"No, I didn't think so. Times change, and people forget. They forget the root of power, and they forget why we need that power."
It's been over 1,000 years.
And now they need my aid. Wow.
The entire town will perish.
And I tell you this, I will give you what you seek, but in return, we need something else.
What do you need?
The sword of my family was shattered. You know this. You seek it, do you not?
I do.
Find the sword, its fragments scattered across this ancient land, and bring them north. Bring them to the stone ring, where the ice begins to creep down from the far iron shore. Will you do
Okay.
this?
I will.
Do you swear it?
I swear it.
Something very cold in your hand, as cold as ice. You look down, you see a long blade resting in your hand. Old, antique in its style, its handle curling almost like ram's horns down around your hand, the blade crusted with pale blue ice. You look up, and silently he's crossed the stone circle. He's standing directly in front of you, looking into your eyes. When you look into his, amid the haze of shadow and pale blue ice, his eyes are 2 points of smouldering red flame burning in the darkness. He looks towards you, and suddenly all you can see are those 2 burning points as he says, "You have sworn an oath, and I will see it kept." And then, suddenly, you return. A second has passed, and you feel a cracking under your hand as the stone begins to crumble away. The warm sun hits your face again, and suddenly, the sword drops from the hand of the statue, slices down into the ground at Boglach's feet. No longer stone, but steel, this ancient longsword, buried in the ground, revealed. To everyone else around you, nothing happened. You poured blood over the sword broke off, and by the time it hit the ground, it had turned from stone to steel. The constable
Constable
goes,
is-
"Praise
you-
be!"
Sweating.
Who done that?
Amazing, Zell.
Sword,
Yeah.
the sword,
You're like-
that was my blood, that was my
Constable,
blood.
that was all you, my friend. That was all you. Hey, I think Constable should be the one to wield this sword. It was his blood after all.
I think it
I
was
am the
Zell who
chosen
found the
one.
sword. It's-
I think
No,
Constable's
no.
the chosen one.
Glue's
Constable's
prophesying it.
Yeah, I am a prophet of Glut. Sorry, no, I am Glut, the
Constable,
prophet of Tyr.
No, we have to ask first, Constable, are you any good at wielding a sword? Have you ever done it before?
Clearly, he's the chosen one. They
Glut,
wouldn't make him
be
the
quiet!
chosen one if he wasn't good with a sword.
I'm more of a club man myself, but you know, I'm sure
I think
it's the same.
someone...
You just hit
think-
you just hit them with a blunt end. It's fine.
No! I think someone...
How about
who
this?
is-
How about this? When an ancient club of Rannoch shows up, you can use your blood to get that then. For now, I feel like the sword should be wielded by somebody skilled in it. That's the only way to be to honor the memory of Rannoch, surely, is to have it wielded by
Absolutely.
someone
absolutely.
truly versed in the sword.
You
And
are
I
the
think that
prophets of
person-
Rannoch.
I think that person is you, Glut.
But I already have a cool sword.
But this is an even cooler sword, and you know how to use a sword.
Can I try and hold both the great swords in one hand each and see if I can just try and hold them both up?
Like
Glut
your
has
muscles burning
Like,
from
no.
the exertions. You pull out this long sword and your great sword in the other hand, kind of like wobbling slightly from side to side. You were able to hold them both. You're not able to fight with them both, sadly.
Wait, did you say that the new one's a long sword, not a great sword?
The new one is a long sword, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I am more of a great sword person. Okay.
I would say, looking at it, you can tell it's not like your kind of classic Highland swords. As you know, this was brought to this realm by the angel, so the sword is not kind of from this culture.
Okay, well, I'll sheath my great sword then, and take this magic long sword and just have a few practice swings of it.
While Gloot's doing that, it's very clear that Zell is a bit disturbed by what's just like. Obviously, they won't know what's happened, and she's gonna turn to Boglak and be like, "If we all make it out of this alive, I need to talk to you about something once this is all over."
You just hear Glut say, Constable, grab my greatsword, let's spar for a bit.
Great sword, club, same thing, really.
Just hit me with a blunt end.
He's lifting it up and kind of like dragging it behind himself, trying to swing it, and then it's like, have you ever seen that video of the dinosaur swinging a sword around in its mouth? It has that kind of about as gainly as the constable begins to writhe around with his great sword. As you guys are talking, you can see the sun is sinking low.
I feel like Boglak will say, like, as this scene's happening in the background, like the clinking of swords would just be like very serious and be like, "Of course, we can talk as soon as we all survive, apart from Constable." In the sense of it, I think Constable's going to be the first to fall, and we'll just walk away.
And Zell's gonna pull out. She's gonna pull her notebook out of her satchel and write down everything that she was just told, so that she remembers for later.
Get down all the details.
Yeah.
Looking around, you've got about an hour ahead of you. I would say, obviously, Glut, you've had your short rest, fully short rested from your little nap, your power nap you had earlier on. You've got about an hour ahead of you. There are 3 entrances to the town, and the villagers have separated themselves somewhat naturally into 3 groups of 10. There are only 30 villagers capable of bearing arms and fighting in the village. The rest are either very old or very young. But the 30 who are ready, they have gone to their positions. So there's 10 at each of the 3 entrances to the village, the north, east and southern entrances. They are currently just in those positions, finishing up the last of the defences, putting in stakes into the ground, stacking up boxes, emptying beer barrels just so they can manoeuvre them a little bit more easily. It's just a necessary thing to do. And at this point, is there anything else you want to do before the sun sets?
What is the town's quantity of lantern oil and spirits?
We've got a fair bit, put by for the winter that's coming up. Plenty of oil and lanterns.
Okay, well, Constable, I need you to gather all of the flammable liquid you have in this town and separate into 3 stockpiles. We're going to need to use that as a final ace up our sleeves if we're finding ourselves overrun.
Absolutely. Where do you want me to place it?
The 3 entrances to the town, I'm going to need a third of each stockpile covering the 3 entrances to the village.
Absolutely. Some of the defences we're setting up, most of it is wood. At the moment, it's barrels, it's crates, so if you need to set anything ablaze, plenty to work with.
Perfect. All right, Zell, I'm going to need you to get some coal, pine, and be able to have a few arrows in your quiver that you can set on fire if need to.
Okay.
The moment that we start getting overrun, I'm going to need you to start detonating those barrels.
I can do that.
Okay, perfect. Boglak will be fighting outside, so I don't know if you can summon storm clouds or something. I've seen you eviscerate a bunch of people before. I think you can do that to the zombies.
Yeah. I feel like I've got an idea of how to strengthen the ranks a wee bit.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to be selfish, but I need to go practice with a sword because this longsword is significantly lighter than what I'm used to.
Practice all you want, Glut. Honestly,
Glut's gonna start. They're gonna practice on the statue that the sword fell from to begin with.
You can see that since the sword fell, the statue is kind of crumbling partially. There's a lot of like thin fractures running down from the hand that was once holding the sword. So as you start practicing whacking in, chunks of the statue are just flying out. People are every now and then like running by, looking over, slightly confused. But most of the villagers are focused on their specific entrances, so no one comes over to intercede and try to stop you destroying their family heirlooms.
And see the sword fall. Or had he left by this point?
Constable saw the sword fall, and Tamsin had headed off by that point, so there were no other witnesses around.
Would have loved to have known what Tamsin thought of the sword finally appearing and all of us being the reason for it. We can talk about it after this whole thing's over.
The only thing that then remains is to decide who's covering what area.
Spot?
So of the three spots, to the north, there is just an open street stacked with boxes and crates to kind of narrow it in and choke off the passage through which any attackers can come. The buildings around there also have been set up with ladders, so if anyone wants to get onto the roofs around there, that's also quite possible to do. The eastern entrance that's where the old wall still stands, and that's where some large wagons have been set up. The wagons have been stacked with firewood so that they can be lit, again narrowing in the gap through which any enemies can pass. And then the southern entrance, a small bridge crosses over a not particularly deep but relatively fast-moving burn stream that runs down from the hills. This narrow bridge looks like it will be enough to narrow in any assault.
Well, I think I should go up the ladders on that one. Sorry, my cat just came in. I should go up the ladders so that I can be high.
Yep,
Makes sense.
For my arrows. Don't know which ones you guys want to take.
I think it would make sense for me to go south, just because it's narrow, and also if stuff comes into the water, I can do stuff with the water, I guess.
Okay. I'm gonna ask Constable if he wants to lead the final group, and I'll stay central, and I'll just head to wherever the angel shows up. Since that's what this magic sword is made for.
So
Also,
you want Constable to kind of take charge of the group on the eastern
on the east,
wing,
on the eastern
where the
gate.
burning wagons are.
I'll just stay central, and if anything goes bad, I can reinforce. But if the angel shows up, I'll be line for him.
Absolutely. So, is there anything else you guys want to do in preparation?
Boglak, I think now would be a good time for you to give like a good like motivational speech to everyone.
Here's
What?
Speaker Bogler.
Yeah.
What?
We,
I imagine you're
Boglak,
like pushing
can you,
Boglak
like-
forward.
we agreed last
You
time
light
that
my
I should
arrows
be the
on
speaker.
fire?
I feel like lighting the arrows might not be a good idea, because I'm going to try and summon some animals to help reinforce
Fair.
my lot. It requires concentration.
Okay. Is there anything that nearby that I can use, like you mentioned there was stuff to, so obviously I want flaming arrows for these battles. Is there any way I can, like, when I go up the ladder, make a small fire up there that I can then dip my arrows into to set them on fire?
Absolutely. Looking down into the street, there's a couple of braziers around already burning.
Perfect.
So you can have some of the villagers bring those braziers up onto the roof, kind of wedge in next to one of the chimney stacks, and then you can use that if you want to light arrows and then fire them from there.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go and ask a couple of villagers to take one up to my vantage point.
Nice, there you go. Not a problem. We got this. Don't quite know what's coming down, but listen, we've done our preparations. We're ready to roll. You see, in your area and in the northern end, you've got Paddy, the tavern keeper. He comes over and goes, "Well, it's been quite a day, let me tell you. But as long as the fragments of my new door are being put to good use, I'm happy. All for a good cause, eh?"
Yeah, absolutely. You guys have done so well.
Are you the commander for our section?
I suppose I am, yes.
I've read a couple of novels about old wartime stories, and I think I'm very prepared for this.
Yeah, you're probably so well prepared, and I think we're gonna do great.
Yeah, well, you know what they say, an army is only as good as its general, and looking at you, I feel like I've got a very good general, so all good. At least you seem to be the most sane of your companions. And he hurries away. He's carrying in one hand a large rolling pin taken from the tavern, and in the other a big chunk of splintered wood sharpened up, which appears to have been taken from the frame of his door. As you get up onto the rooftop, Boglach, you're heading to the southern end. You can see that you've got this wooden bridge jutting out over the water on the far side. The hills rolling away, a few stunted trees, no sign of movement out there beyond the bridge. The babbling water sounds almost peaceful as the sunset begins to fade towards the west. You see your troops, such as they are, a small ragged crew getting together, nodding to you, thumbs up. They seem quite happy. They don't really know what's going on, but they feel ready. They're on their home turf. You notice among their ranks a small figure looks up at you, sullen side glance. Tam goes, "Well, it appears we are to fight side by side."
It appears so, Tam. Look, Tam, before we charge into battle, I hope we can put aside our differences that I know we have and have each other's backs, because what's going to come at us is bigger than our feud. So I guess I'm just making sure that there's no stabbing in the back. That I'm not saying you're partial to. I just want to make sure that, because I have a lot of magic. So if you think you're coming for me, Tam, you've got everything.
I'm here to do my bit for the town. I'm not planning anything nefarious.
I know you are, but if you think, if we get into our 2-3 of this battle and you think now's a time to have the old firebog, I'll always be keeping a little bit of my magical connection to the weave free so that I can call down lightning or something, okay? I just want you to know that. I will hold back the entire battle just to make sure that you are not stabbing me in the back.
Well, it's very good to know that my comrades in arms have such faith in me.
I do have faith in you, Tam. I started this off. I hope there's no bad blood between us.
You then immediately went straight from that into warning me off stabbing you in the back.
Because I went, no bad blood, and you did this sigh. I don't know if you're aware that you do, but it's this sigh that puts me on edge. Anyway, Tam, we're fighting arm in arm, side by side. I will do everything in my power, with my superior power, and I don't mean that as a boast. I just mean to tell you again, there will be no stabbing in the back. I've trained my entire life, and I will use that to stop myself getting stabbed in the back by you. But we are fighting side by side, and I will do everything in my power to keep us safe.
Tam stares at you.
What? You seem annoyed at me now, Tam. I'm trying to build a bridge, and then I'll laugh and point at the
that you're
bridge
gonna not use your whole power the whole fight just in case he stabs you in the back.
You watch as Tam stabs me in the back.
Listen.
I've been close to death, Tam, twice today. Let me tell you, I won't let you stab me in the back and send me back to those fates, okay? If there's one thing I can guarantee, you're not stabbing me in the back today. Let's stab forward, not behind. That's what I'm trying to say.
I may not look like much of a fighter, but I am going to do my bit to defend this town. And I don't know what you think I am. I don't know what you've heard or what assumptions you've made, but get ready to be proven dead wrong. And when all of this is over, you and I are going to have some words. And he turns around and stomps off to join
Words
his.
of victory, Tam. Words of victory. Such fire. That's amazing. I feel safer now, knowing that you're fighting on our side.
As you.
Bolak seems like
I
kind of
begged
proud of
him
themselves.
down.
Like, amazing.
There'll be
we've
one
got through
pleasant
something
conversation. There will be one
Yeah.
nice interaction with Tam this campaign.
As you
there.
finish.
The one thing I want to say as well is just Boglak is getting the components and stuff ready to summon woodland creatures, I want to say. It's not woodland beings, just tundra animals. And I'd like to use my capacity to summon a giant elk, which is CR rating 2.
Absolutely. Are you doing that
so
just
I want to be
now?
able to use my spell slot. It's concentration for an hour. So my idea is, if stuff's marching on us, I want to use the elk to try and like ram them into the surrounding waters. So I'll just be focusing on like being ready to do that, if that makes sense. That's what the rest of
Absolutely.
my preparation is. It's just making sure I'm ready to go with that. I'm probably telling the rest of the people around me, including Tam, that that's my idea and my plan. Is let them funnel into the bridge and then try and ram as many off and then get ready to fight.
100%.
That's me.
In that case, the rest of everyone else, the other 9 villagers there look very happy to have you on side. You're clearly a competent spellcaster, and they're, ready to take on. Some of them seem to think there's bandits coming. Some of them seem to think there might be demon worshippers. No one's really sure what's going on, but the general impression they have is that they need to fight some kind of intruding force that's coming to destroy the Temple of Tyr in the town. And most of them, bar Tam, are happy to be here. As you get ready to defend your corner, Glut, you see the constable walk by and go, "Listen, I hope to make it through to the other side, but I appreciate the faith you've put in me, and I appreciate the light you brought into my life. I was a simple country constable until a few days ago, and now I am a warrior of the God of Justice."
Yeah, you are. You're a great warrior. But let me give you a piece of advice. I've seen a skirmish or two in my time, and let me tell you, the people that do best in these battles aren't the heroes, the fighters, the warriors. It's the killers. So don't be a hero, be a killer.
I've never killed anything before, but first time for everything,
Oh, you're the chosen one. You're going to get used to it. You'll be wading through blood by the time this is over.
Oh, okay, that's fine. He looks down at his finger, which is now bandaged with a sort of comically large bandage. And goes, I'm wading through blood, okay. And he heads off to his corner. Is there anything else you want to do, Glut?
Yeah, Glut's just going to start psyching himself up. Just a little mantra, just be the killer. Be the killer. And they're going to start thinking about, their bear cubs, and they're going to get really fucking angry. Really sad, but really fucking angry. Like, they're going to rage on sight. They're getting ready to fucking wreak havoc. It's a game of mental preparation right now.
As you put yourself into this mental state, you're not raging yet, but you're just kind of filling yourself with that adrenaline and that sense of focus as the battle is coming gets steadily closer as the sun sinks lower. I'm going to quickly outline some of the actual mechanics that we're going to use for what is coming up. So there is, as you understand now, there are 3 entrances into the town. Each entrance is guarded by essentially what we're going to call a swarm of villagers. They are going to be going up against some pretty tough enemies, and it's entirely up to you where they are. At the start of your turn, the first thing you can do, and it always has to be at the start of your turn, is order your swarm of villagers forward or backwards. When those villagers are forward, they are going to take more damage. They're going to soak up damage, basically take half of any attacks coming off of an attacking force. So let's say an attacker comes across that bridge. Boglach, you have started your turn by ordering your villagers forward, so they're standing alongside you. The attackers lunge in, and although they succeed in attacking you, Boglak, half that damage is absorbed by the village squadron. In cases where you are not standing next to the squadron and they have been brought forward, they take the full damage. The attacks just go towards them if they're in the way and kind of holding back that force. So for example, Zell, you can be firing arrows on your turn, but if you've ordered your villagers forward, they're going to be just holding the line, taking the full brunt of the attacks. If you go up to fight alongside them, you can take half of it. If you order them back, you can fight alone, and they won't take any damage while they're in the rear. Each swarm of villagers has 100 HP. 10 HP represents a villager, and for every 10 HP they lose, a villager dies. So it's entirely up to you how you use them and how you want to play this strategically. You can just have them up the front, soak up all the damage, and then deal with whatever gets through, but that's up to you guys. Finally, if the attacker crits and the villagers are in a forward position, the named NPC that you know who's with the company will take the brunt of that damage, and if that damage exceeds 10, they will die. The preparations have been made, and there's nothing else to do at this point. The sun sets. For the third time, the sun sets, and you remember the angel Thazrael's words echoing in your ears. The sun will set thrice, and then his work will begin. You watch the red light painted across the mountains as the sun sinks in the west. You feel a chill in the air as the light fades, the darkness begins to thicken around you. Silence begins to fall over the villagers. The chatter and the energy begins to melt away as they wait, not really knowing what's coming, just peering out into the gathering gloom. The wind blows chill down the valley. Silence. Stillness. And then, as the darkness intensifies far out beyond the lights of the town, you see lights in the darkness, white lights, small pricks of starlight in the gloom, moving slowly down the hills towards the villagers. The lights of burning eyes glowing with pale, radiant energy as 3 swarms of figures begin to make their way, not in a great rush, but slowly, step after step, down through the darkness towards the villagers. Peering out, you can see a mix of individuals coming towards the town. The majority of these forces appear to consist of the armoured figures that you caught glimpses of lying dead in the chamber behind the waterfall. Their bodies held together now, partly by old muscle mass and sinew, partly by this strange ethereal radiant light that moves within the armour, binding their bodies together, holding them in place. Some of these corpses are ancient, crumbling, and yet bound together by the angel's magic, the magic of the horn. You peer out and you see they come to a halt. There's a moment of stillness as they just stand there, unblinking, the white lights glowing in the darkness, just like the lights in the eyes of the hanged farmer you encountered on the road. And then, suddenly, as if responding to a signal that only they can hear, they begin to move. First, slowly along the roads towards the 3 entrances, then faster and faster, and at this moment can you all roll initiative. As we begin with Boglach. The first thing is to decide where you want your troops.
I think for now I want to keep the troops behind me.
Absolutely.
And I think Boglach is going to try and wait for the horde, I guess for want of a better word, to get onto the bridge, or a number of them to get onto the bridge. At that point, try and summon a giant elk to kind of charge forward and basically like barrage through the main body. Actually, in that case, I won't keep my troops behind me. I'll keep them in line with me because I think I'm going to push them forward. or maybe drop them back. I'll bring them up so that we're all in a line, and then summon this kind of ramming attack forward.
Absolutely. You give the order. The villagers, they've gone still, frozen, staring out at this strange sight of the lights and the corpses moving towards them. They're in a state of shock, and then you call out to them. They snap into waking after this strange panic nightmare dream they were in. They rush forward, taking up their positions. You can see people shaking, clutching onto spades, farming implements. These are not warriors, but they are standing alongside you as the swarm of undead hits the far side of this wooden bridge and begins to surge out onto the old wooden boards. You cast your magic. The elk appears beside you. What do you want it to do?
I just want it to charge forward in a straight line. It's got a movement, it's got a speed of 60. It's a huge beast. If it moves at least 20 feet straight towards a target, then hits it with a ram attack on the same turn, the target takes additional damage, and then it must succeed a strength saving throw or be knocked prone. So basically, I just wanted to summon and then kind of charge right along this bridge.
Absolutely.
Just try and barrage through.
As the armoured undead, glowing eyes flickering in the gloom, swarm out onto the bridge, your elk begins to charge along, thundering along this old wooden bridge, if you want to make an attack.
Perfect. So, plus 6 to hit. 20 to hit.
That absolutely hits.
Amazing. So is it just rolling normal damage?
Absolutely, just the damage of the elk.
Perfect. And was it able to move 20 feet straight towards its target and then hit on the same turn? Amazing. So it's 2d6 plus 4 bludgeoning damage, just the ram in general, and then it's an additional 2d6, so it's 4d6 plus 4.
Ooh.
So that's 17 on the roll plus 4, which is 21. And then it'll need to make a strength check to see if they're knocked prone. I don't know how it works, if it's an individual or a big group, but
what is
strength
the
check to see if they're knocked prone.
DC?
It's a DC 14 strength check.
They rolled an 18
It's
collectively. Saving throw. They rolled collectively an 18 as a swarm, which means none of them go prone. With that attack, several of the ones you hit, they kind of crumple under the onslaught of the antlers, and then they are pushed off the sides. The wooden banisters that run alongside the bridge shatter as some of these undead crash down into the water, weighed down by their heavy armor, begin to thrash. They don't make any vocal sounds, but they begin to writhe and thrash in the water, unable to drag themselves up as the elk bars the way on the bridge, and they take that full damage. Is there anything else you want to do?
How can I just get an idea of how they look in the water, like the ones that are knocked in, if they're still alive, how they're sort of faring up in the water?
Looking down, you can see that as the water flows over these dry, long dead corpses, the last kind of matter holding them together, it seems to be kind of dusting away in the water. You get the impression that as they fall into the water, they're kind of, that is almost what's killing these ones that went into the water. They're crumbling apart as you watch.
I'm going to turn. I imagine Tam is next to me, almost like the horrible right hand. Not horrible in terms of his. I feel like I'm now stepping into Boglak. Not horrible in terms of, but just like, just like a right hand person who does not get on with Boglak. But Boglak's going to turn and say, Tam, we need to take this bridge out. Like, if we can take this bridge out, they're going to struggle to get across that water, and it's going to put us in a better position. So that's our next move. I'm just going to say that to Tam and then be ready to deal with.
Tam
That's me.
nods,
I wish I could do more, but...
Takes a deep breath. He looks shaken, and he looks across and goes, to be honest, I think I preferred this sort of thing in the stories. And takes a deep breath, readies himself.
I'm going to say, Tam, we can have all the feuds and arguments after this, but I've got your back. I know I said a lot about backs earlier, but I've got your back this battle, and you've got my back, and we're going to do this, okay? All feuds aside, as we see this site, I imagine, at least from Boglak's half.
He doesn't say anything, he just looks at you, nods, and goes, takes a deep breath. looks back towards the onslaught. You can see the undead pressing up against the giant elk. They are going to make their full attacks against the elk on this turn.
Okay.
That is going to be to hit only a 12.
Doesn't hit.
They
AC
swarm
14.
forward, arms reaching up, rusted swords hacking at the elk. The elk rears up, slams its hooves down, manages to avoid these attacks. You get the impression that because they're being crammed into this narrow space, a lot of them, as they're making their attacks, they're bumping into their comrades, unable to kind of properly swing these ancient swords. The armoured figure is right now in a tangle of limbs on the farther side of this animal. They are going to end their turn. They are blocked on the bridge by the elk as we go over to Zell. No, pardon me, to Glut on an 18.
So these undead coming towards us, are they near the flammable barrels and stuff I ordered the villagers to lay down?
Yes, they are being channeled in between stacks of barrels and dry wood.
Can I order, like, my villagers... So sorry, can I order my villagers to stay where they are, but can I order one of them to, like, throw a torch at the barrels?
Absolutely. So you want them to hold back, but then you want them to, like, engage and throw a torch in.
Yes.
Absolutely. You give that order. You see an older gentleman, dwarven gentleman, steps forward, winds back an arm, torch in hand, hurls it through the air. It lands, and you see the barrels start flaring up, having been doused in this flammable oil. The flames quickly begin to spread across the wagons and the barrels stacked up here.
Okay, so does that, like, does the explosion damage them at all? Does it slow them down, or are they more just now moving through that fire?
They're now moving through that fire, and any turn they end in that space, they're going to take damage as a result of the flames around them.
Okay, perfect. Lastly, can I order Constable to throw me my greatsword?
Constable, with a look of almost relief, manages to kind of drop this very heavy greatsword into your hands.
Okay, so I'm going to move forward myself, and I'm now going to go up to the group of undead who are, like, kind of in amongst the fire, and I want to use my repelling strike, like my greatsword's special ability. So I need to make a DC 15 athletics check, and that is... And I do have disadvantage because of exhaustion, but I do have expertise on this skill, so that is an 18 for the first one, and a... Oh, thank God. Okay, so I roll a 16, so that's fine. So all of the horde needs to make a DC 13 dex saving throw.
That is going to clear it comfortably.
They're going to clear. Well, in that case, I will. I'll end my turn.
In that case, you end your turn up front, the flames roaring around you as the inferno spreads around the various oil-soaked barrels and boxes. The villagers a little bit behind you, cheering you on, ready to step forward if needed, but for now holding back. At this point, the swarm in front of you is going to lunge towards you. However, as they start their turn in this space, they are going to take damage. You see the flames spread over. A few of them begin to sort of pat at themselves as the old dry flesh under the armor smolders and flames. As the flames begin to spread around the edges, they are going to lunge towards you, multiple limbs, arms, rusted swords lashing at you. That is going to be a 22 to hit.
Believe it or not, that will hit.
That will hit. That is going to be 12 points of slashing damage as the blades begin to lash down. You feel that one of these rusted longswords bites into your shoulder, another small dirk kind of digging up into your side. Collectively, that's the damage. Are you raging at the moment?
I am not raging at the moment. I'm actually feeling quite calm.
Okay.
All things considered.
In that case, as the swarm kind of like lashes in against you, they are going to end their turn, and we are going to go over to Zell. You're up on your roof looking down at the street below, the villagers bracing for impact. Where do you want them?
So first of all, can you describe exactly what it's like where the swarm's coming from again?
So right now you're up on the roofs looking at a street that runs away from you to the edge of town. the street is essentially, it's been slightly narrowed with crates and boxes, a couple of wooden palisades, but it is open. The villagers are standing in the street, and flowing into the far end of the street is the swarm of undead.
Okay, so I'm gonna cast Spike Growth so that it goes in front of where the villagers are, just to kind of try and slow down the swarm, and also give them damage as they come down this street.
And just to confirm, before you do that, are you moving your villagers forward, or are you holding them in the back position?
I'm holding them back just now so that I can cast Spike Growth in front of them. I don't want
Gotcha.
anyone to move into the spikes.
You cast that, kind of spreading across the street, narrowed in as it is. The entire central area of the street is covered in the spike growth.
Perfect. So that should cause 2d4 piercing damage for every 5 feet they travel.
And how much ground does it cover?
20 feet long.
Ooh, right. Well, I mean, they're going to have to pass through that whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's my plan. Slow them down, cause damage as they come.
Anything else you want to do?
Can I shoot a couple of arrows at the same time? Or is
no,
that's my attack?
That's your action.
So I'm done now. I end my turn.
In that case, the swarm, unfazed, storms through the spike growth, so please roll damage.
Okay.
They're going to move through the entire thing.
Okay. Give it 2 seconds. 3 damage for the first 5 feet. 6 damage for the second 5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
4 damage for the third, and lastly 5 damage. So sorry, didn't count that as I was going along.
No, that's as you see these spiky vines lashing up, tearing into the old rusted armor, pulling bones out from rotting flesh. A couple of the fresher zombies, probably the ones who've come up from the graveyard in the last kind of 12 or so hours, you can see them getting almost tangled down amid the vines. They're not wearing armor, and the vines are slashing at them. The undead are able to press through, and they are going to engage with the villagers. You see as they stagger at the other side, torn and tattered, the villagers brace. You hear someone, possibly Paddy's voice, rise up and go, "For Kinrannoch!" as they engage. That is going to be 15, which is going to hit. The villagers are going to take... You see one of the villagers go down. Not someone you recognize. You might have seen their face earlier on in the tavern. You see this sort of half-elven woman who's fighting up at the front. She just takes an old rusted greatsword to the side of the skull. There's a spattering of blood, a sickening crunching sound as this body just crashes to the ground. There are 9 villagers down in the street. They try to close the ranks as the monstrous swarm presses in against them. And that's going to end their turn, and we return to the top of the round with Boglach.
As we start, can I turn to Tam and say, how old is this bridge, Tam?
I think they put it up after the Great Storm took down the last one. That was about 110, 120 years ago.
Is it often repaired?
Oh, not as much as we probably should be repairing it. The foundations are pretty rotten.
That's good news. The elk's holding up okay, isn't it? And sort of blocking them at the moment.
For now.
Okay, in that case, I'm going to try and thin out the ranks a wee bit before I try something else. So, I will just send a acid arrow into the crowd if I'm able to.
Absolutely.
I'll cast it 3rd level. It's a +8 to hit. 19.
That hits.
Amazing. Now, let me try and work out how this spell works again. I'm not casting it higher, so that's all good. So on a hit, it's going to be 4d4 immediately acid damage.
Oh, and then there's the delayed amount, isn't there?
Yeah, so 4d4 acid damage is just going to be 7 acid damage. And then they are going to take an additional 5 acid damage at the end of its next turn.
Sweet. Excellent. So that you cast that, there's a flash of green light as that lurid acid zaps across the bridge, slamming into the side of the swarm as they press up against the elk. You see several of them kind of like crumble down as the acid burns through them, staggering back up, their faces burning away on one side, armor kind of bubbling and melting under the corrosive influence of this caustic liquid. Anything else you want to do?
I'm going to command the elk to hold the line, and I'm going to ask the villagers to fall back. Not too far, but just go back a wee bit.
Absolutely.
I can do that because it's not the start of my turn. I'll let the villagers hold the line.
I'll note that. So basically, immediately at the start of your next turn, the villagers will pull back if you still want.
I think I'll just leave them where they are actually.
Sweet.
We're all kind of facing it together. But I'll command the elk to not charge any more forward, just to sort of like try and sweep antlers and just like keep the majority of them stayed on the bridge.
Absolutely.
Hopefully more coming on.
For now, although there's a press on the far side, the antlers are still kind of wide and blocking the path. The undead are going to lunge forward to attack against the elk.
Yep.
That is a dirty 20. That is going to be... There's going to be 16 points of damage against the elk, slashing damage as multiple blades hack into it from all sides.
Amazing. So it's got 42 hit points. But it's still standing.
Still standing strong. You can see the elk is taking a beating, it's taking injuries, but it's standing firm, unwavering. Around you, you can hear some of the villagers begin to shout out, almost like jeering at the undead, and in some cases yelling, "Come on, Biggin!" towards the elk, trying to encourage the elk.
I'm gonna turn when that's happening, and instead of joining in, I'm gonna go, "No, do not celebrate until the battle is won. Do not tempt the fates into making this ironic. Irony will kill us. Just keep a good nervous energy for now."
A couple of them
freaked out. The fact that they're celebrating, I'm like, that elk is gonna fall at one point. We need to be ready. Stay on it.
Looking also at the onslaught that elk took, and sort of out of game, knowing that was a natural 20, you know, had the elk not been there, that would have been a villager down at this point, had they been across. And not just that, it would have been Tam. For now, the horde is kept at bay as we go over to Glut.
So Glut thought their idea of knocking all of the zombies into the fire was really smart, but the zombies were really inconsiderate and decided to not fall over. So Glut's going to rage. So Glut's going to totally forget about the villagers behind them and just not order them about and just start fucking screaming. And is going to go for...
The villagers actually start pulling back slightly, just out of concern at you.
Yeah, so I am going to recklessly attack this horde. I'm going to get in about it. Try and keep them in the fire.
Hell yeah.
So first attack is a 26.
That hits.
The second attack is a 19.
Also hits.
Okay, and so because that's the case, I'm just going to bonus... Oh no, I've already used my bonus action to rage, never mind. That's fine, so that is 2d10 plus 14. Ooh, 1, 10, and 13. 13 plus 14, 27 slashing damage.
As you bring that massive blow down with your greatsword, you see 3 of these like heavily armored undead emerge from the swarm, a little bit more together and not as sort of rotted and destroyed as some of the others. They lunge towards you, blades upraised, and you just bring that one stroke through, cut down all 3 of them, cleaving through neck after neck after neck as they crumble to the ground, the light disappearing from their eyes as their skulls bounce off of their shoulders.
Okay, well with that, just like with blood frothing from my mouth, I should be like, "You're all dead, but come and die again, fuckers!" And end my turn.
As if in response to your words, the swarm presses against you. They are going to make an attack that will be a 24 to hit.
Will also hit.
And that will be 13 reduced to 6 slashing damage as the blades lash down into you again. The villagers behind you sort of cry out seeing the blades hit you, and then you just seem to be showing no sign of disconcertion or discomfort in this situation. A couple of them begin to rally and go, "Come on, Glute, you got this!" while staying a little bit further back. The undead begins to press around you. They're going to use their movement to try to get out kind of past you away from the flames, but because you've got this you're blocking them in at this point, only 1 or 2 of them are able to get around you. The rest in this crammed location are going to take further damage. You see the flames spread over them once again, as they take another 6 points of fire damage from the surrounding inferno. They're still trapped here. You are between them and the villagers, and you're still trapping them in the flames as we go over
because
to...
a couple have got by me, can I make an attack of opportunity against them?
They're not leaving your space. They're just kind of pressing in around you.
Okay, but they've not quite gotten past
They've
me
not
yet.
got past you to the villagers or anything like that.
Okay, no worries.
In that case, we're over to Zell. You look down into the throng almost directly below you in the street.
Okay, perfect. So is this massive enemies to the... Sorry, does that count as one enemy, or is there lots of...
It's essentially a single big entity. When you attack it, it has quite a low AC because there's so many different people down there. You're likely to hit someone.
Okay, so...
just to begin with, are you keeping your villagers there, or do you want them to fall back?
I want them to fall back. I don't want to lose anybody else.
Absolutely. Because they're fully engaged at this point, they'll take attacks of opportunity as they retreat, but they also will be out of range when the undead begin to move again.
Swarm moves again. Okay. Can I cast Hunter's Mark on this swarm?
Yes, let me just see
I don't know
those
if I can.
attacks of opportunity first.
Okay.
That is going to hit. Not a huge amount of damage though. You see, as they begin to fall back, hearing your words from above, tell them to get back down the street, they begin to withdraw, holding up their rudimentary shields, the big pot lids and pans that they brought out to use as shields. They ward off a couple of blows. You see Paddy takes a nick to the shoulder and then lashes out with his own blade, driving back one of the zombies. They're able to pull back a little bit further down the street, put some distance between themselves and the undead. What do you want to do?
I'm going to cast Hunter's Mark on this swarm.
I'd say you
Can
cast
I do
Hunter's...
that?
I think because there's multiple enemies down there, you can cast Hunter's Mark, but I would say the AC would go up because you're now trying to hit specific ones.
One specific.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, I'm just going to send a couple of arrows in. When I was asking, I was trying to work out if I could use my Horde Breaker, where I get an additional weapon attack on a different creature within 5 foot of the original target.
Does it need to have Hunter's Mark?
No.
Oh,
no.
sweet.
That's why I was asking if it was one entity or multiple. So I can use my Horde Breaker.
Absolutely, because this is a perfect situation. Although it is one entity, I'd say because you've got multiple different here, you can absolutely do that.
Okay, so on each of my turn, I can make another attack. On each of my attacks, I can make another attack. So, so at first she's just going to take 2 arrows and fire them out in quick succession as part of that. I'm just going to check my hit. The first one is only a 10 to hit.
That will miss, I'm afraid.
And the second one is a 22.
Definitely hits.
Okay, so that one does 10 damage. 10 piercing damage. And then, because that was with the Horde Breaker, that counts as 1 attack, right?
Well, you can add an extra one on top of that because you're kind of shooting, almost firing in and then just firing another one off at someone right next to them.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so she's going to do the same thing, just send off. And that is a 24 to hit.
Hits.
With only 5 damage, piercing damage that time.
You command your troops to fall back as they pull off down the street. You just begin to rain arrows down into the undead below, almost giving cover to the retreating villagers. Anything else you want to do out there?
No, that's everything.
In that case, some of the undead are going to begin to swarm up the ladder that is directly next to the area where you're fighting. They begin to slowly, kind of hand over hand, drag themselves up. There's not that many of them are getting up. Most of them are still heading down the street towards the villagers, although they're not able to reach them on this turn. You see a couple of hands reaching up over, and they're going to make an attack. Their damage, if they do hit, is going to be a lot less, but it's only a couple of them coming up here.
Okay.
That will be 21 to hit.
That hits.
But that is only going to be 3 points of slashing damage as one of them lashes out with a rusted blade, kind of nicking at your leg, and then they begin to swarm, sort of tumble back down on the side of the building. It's almost like they tried to swarm up, they managed to land that attack, and then they just kind of dissipate back down into the street below, continuing to press forward. They all seem to be moving single-mindedly towards the centre of the town. At this point, we jump back to the top of the round with Boglach.
How's the swarm looking at the moment?
They're still looking pretty robust. There's a lot of dispensable dead on the far side.
Okay. What do I do?
Firstly, just keeping your troops where they are.
Yes, I'm going to keep them
Nice.
where they are, I would say. Is there... Nah, should be okay. I think I'm just going to fire another acid arrow. I'm going to hope that the elk can hold up for one more turn, and then I'm going to see what's happening. So I'm just going to fire another acid arrow into the horde. Again at 3rd level. 18 plus 8, so 26.
Definitely hits.
Did they also take the additional 5 damage at the end of their
Did, yeah.
last turn? Amazing. Okay, in that case, it's going to be... 5d4? Turn to roll 20. 4, so 16 acid damage initially, and then 6 acid damage at the end of their next turn.
Another blast of green light flashes across. You see multiple go down under that onslaught. The acid spraying out. It hits one of them, but then the acid sprays out onto multiple zombies around them. You see the zombies kind of like writhing slightly from side to side, shaking their heads as the acid begins to burn through the already threadbare skin in their faces.
Is there any barrels around the southern place? I know that there was fire stuff on the eastern and even northern, I think, territory, but is it just the bridge that we've got down here?
Right now you just have the bridge. You can look around, you can see there are things that could be lit up. If you spent like a turn, you could potentially light up some of there's a couple of unlit braziers quite close to the bridge you could light up.
It's okay, I'm all good.
In that case, the undead are going to attack the elk. You see again a swarm of hands reaching out. That is going to be a 25 to hit.
Definitely hits.
And that will be 13 points of slashing, as once again the blade's going to lash in against the creature. They are still, for the time being, held, as your elk soaks up the damage that was meant for you. Anything else you want to kind of say to your guys at this point?
Does the elk get to attack as well? Like, take a turn, or...
Oh yeah, on your turn you can have the elk do stuff.
I think it rolls its own initiative, but I understand that we're kind of doing...
Yeah, it just moves directly after you, so it can make an attack now if you want.
Yeah, I think I would have it... just hoofs attack.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine... Oh, no, that's one prone creature. So I'm just going to do ram again, but it's not going to move forward. It's going to hold the line, but just, like, I guess, try and, like, catch
Kind
a
of
couple
sweep
off guard.
through.
It's a +6, so it's going to be 17 to hit.
That hits.
Oh, amazing. And then 2d6 +4. So 9. I want to say bludgeoning. Let me double check. Yeah, 9 bludgeoning damage. Is going to be taken.
You hear a metallic clang as the antlers slam into the old rusted armor, splintering metal and bone in every direction. A couple more of them go down under the onslaught. More press in to take their place. At this moment, we jump over to Gloot amid the flames.
So with the zombies that are trying to get past me, I'm gonna target them because I want to try the ones that are in the fire. I know are burning right now, so I'm gonna go for just another bunch of reckless attacks.
Go over
so
it.
Attack 1 is a 21.
It hits.
Attack 2 is a nat 20.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then because I've hit with 2 attacks, I can bonus action pommel strike with my big sword. And that last one is a 16.
Roll the damage.
The 16 hits as well?
They all hit.
Oh, okay, so that's 3d10, then also a d6, and then I'm going to add 21 to that. So that's 10, 14, 17 plus 9, 17 plus 5. I hate maths. 26, and then that's 26 plus 21, and that's 48 damage. Doesn't matter if it's slashing or bludgeoning because
no.
Okay, so that 40 is that 46 I just said?
Just a devastating attack. The blade lashing down, lit by the flames. From behind you, the villagers look in and they see this almost demented figure dancing and weaving in the flames. The blade, although the blade isn't on fire, it reflects the light. It almost looks like it's blazing like a burning brand as you lash down into the zombies who were trying to creep around you. Limbs fly in every direction, bone and metal flying up in the air like rain coming down on you as you just wail in on them.
Because obviously Gloat doesn't have to move a lot during this, they can just feel like the exhaustion just melt away from their bones, and they're just so happy right now. They're just laughing. They're just belly laughing right now. And once again, have totally forgot about the villagers, so we'll just not say anything.
As your laughter rises up amid the roiling flames, the undead swarm is going to take a further, as long as you hold them there, they'll keep taking that damage. They're going to take a further 4 points of fire damage from the surrounding area as they attack you again, Gloot. That is a nat 20. They are going to go ham on you.
Hey, better that than Constable.
That is going to be 19 reduced to
9.
Yes.
Yeah.
9 points of damage as the blades lash at you. You're holding it, soaking it up so that no damage can get back to the villagers behind you, standing alone against the horde. They end their turn there fighting against you as we go over to Zell.
So do I have fire barrels? I had completely forgotten about that.
You have a burning brazier next to you.
Okay, but did we ever put... No, we didn't put fire barrels down on the ground then, did we?
No, there's nothing
That's
flammable necessarily down there that you could light up right away.
Okay, in that case, I feel awful about this. I'm gonna...
I should say there are like the oil. There's some oil soaked materials that Gloot ordered in, but they are all up the far end of the street. The zombies have now gone right past them.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, I feel horrible about this, but I'm gonna push the villagers forward.
Absolutely, the villagers. You shout out to them. They rally. They let out a roar. You hear Paddy's voice rise again as he shouts, "Come on now! For the god of justice!" And they come rushing forward down the street, slam with an audible crash into the line of zombies.
Okay, as that's happening, I'm gonna do the same thing I did before. I'm gonna send 3 arrows down, specifically it's all a big mess, but, trying to aim. So that is... The first one's only an 11 to hit.
Just miss.
Second one's a 17.
Hits.
And the third one is a nat 20.
Oh, hits and hits.
Nice.
So that does... That nat 20 does 15 piercing damage.
Nice.
And then the other one that hit only does 4. But hey, I got a crit.
Absolutely. You shout that call, order your troops forward, you see them rush down the street and engage, and then for a moment they kind of waver as they hit the wall of zombies and then get kind of pushed back. You see the fear flickering over their faces as they realise that they're face to face with these dead bodies, and then you just appear illuminated by the brazier beside you, just lancing arrows down into it, arrows tearing through multiple bodies at once, dropping the zombies, and seeing the arrows fall, Paddy points up and goes, "That's my general!" And they press forward, holding the line. At this point, you see the undead begin to move. Is there anything else you want to do?
Can I kick the ladder that's on the roof?
Absolutely, you just kick that off. It crashes into the swarm. It doesn't do any particular damage to them, but they can no longer get anywhere near you. They are going to make an attack. That is going to be a 27 to hit. Yes, definitely.
Oh god.
For 10 damage. And it's zacked. 10, let's see. That is going to be another villager as the zombies press in. This is close quarters in the streets. You cannot get can't lift your arm to fight. You see a grizzled looking dwarf lift up a sickle to bring it down, and as his arm goes up, you see a zombie just grab him, lunge in at his neck, sink its teeth into the side of the flesh of his neck and tear away as the body goes down into this throng, just trampled underfoot as people press in to take his place. There are 8 now standing down below you, holding the line. As we end that turn, we go over to Boglach.
The elk's looking pretty beat up, I imagine. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to drop concentration on the elk. And instead, I am going to...
As you do that, you see one of the villagers next to you goes, "That elk is going to hold. It's going to hold till the dawn." And then it vanishes and he goes, "Oh, I spoke too soon."
I'm going to try and keep this villager's morale up by dropping the summon creature or whatever that spell was, and instead use a 4th level slot to do Wall of Fire. And I'm going to try and, which I did not know I had.
Oh.
I must have just picked it because I was like, that's a useful spell, and now it's like coming clutch. But yeah, so from what I can understand, the wall can be up to 60 foot wide, 20 foot tall, and 1 foot thick. So I basically just want to, where the elk drops, just summon that wall. When it appears, it's a DC 16 dex save, and they'll take damage. And then I'm going to pick the opposite side facing the horde, because you pick a side and then that does additional damage to creatures there if they end their turn or are within 10 foot of the wall. But to make it very simple, I'm going to make the wall appear, and it's a DC 16 save to see if they take damage.
And then can you keep the wall there with concentration?
It's a concentration up to 1 minute.
Amazing.
Basically.
And a dexterity throw from the horde.
Yeah, so it says when the wall appears, each creature within its area must make a dex saving throw. So I don't know if that means they're in the 1 foot wall or it's just in the area, because there seems to be then talk about 10 foot areas. But
yeah, I would say there's probably like a
summon it on
blast
top.
of initial heat that will kind of like burn into the front ranks of the horde as they press into the bridge. They rolled very poorly, so they are going to have a 9.
A 9. So they fail, so they're going to take 5d8 fire damage. So 24 fire damage.
24 fire damage, absolutely. You
Nice.
see, essentially, the whole front 3 lines of the zombie horde are just incinerated, turned to ash, armor crumpling down, light going out of their eyes. A few of them, hit by that wall of flame, stagger to one side and fall down to the water, dissolving into the running water below, and the flames rip across the bridge. You see this old wood flaring and smouldering.
Perfect. And then, like I say, I'm going to pick one side of the wall, so it's going to be the side of the wall facing the horde, and it's going to deal 5d8 fire damage to each creature that ends its turn within 10 feet of that side or inside the wall. A creature takes the same damage when it enters the wall for the first time on a turn or ends its turn there. The other side of the wall deals no damage. So I imagine it's just going to... Boglak's just pouring all their power into keeping this wall up and hopefully incinerating them. And hopefully it's burning the bridge, because the ultimate goal is to collapse that bridge.
Okay, well, I would say at this point, ending your turn, the horde is just going to run directly through the flames to get towards you on the other side. So if you want to... How much damage did they take?
What do you mean?
Well, if they're running through the flames, they all enter the flames.
Because they start their turn... A creature takes the same damage when it enters the wall for the first time. That makes sense. Okay. In that case, it's going to be... If I'm doing this spell right, 27 fire damage.
27 fire damage. You watch...
I hope I'm doing this spell right, because it seems very over. But I guess it is like a choke point. And
a choke point and a wall of flame, and they swarm through, and you see for a moment the invisibility is gone. There is smoke and flame pouring up from the center of the bridge, and then looming like dark silhouettes, their eyes burning white, their skin now flaring and smoking. The zombies begin pouring across the bridge. As they're coming, many of them are kind of like crumbling down into the flames, and quite a few of them get out on the far side. They're burning, but they're running across the bridge. You then hear this crumbling, cracking sound as the whole farther portion of the bridge caves down into the water, taking the remaining portion of the horde with them down into the water. Burning zombies thrashing and going still amid the frothing water of the burn, as basically almost all of that damage, some of it is absorbed by those who run through the wall, the rest goes to those who kind of got into the wall and then went down into the water as the bridge collapsed. The bridge is now only really jutting out from your side, with the few remaining zombies from the horde on your side of the river, but the vast majority of them are now dead.
Okay.
And with that...
I need to... Yeah, I was going to say, I need to keep concentration on this spell, I think. Is the spell doing anything then?
At this point, no.
Where...
It's
Right.
You've destroyed most of the bridge, and they are on your side of the bridge now.
Okay, in that case, I'm going to drop the spell and be ready to go forward. I should have said it at the start, so I'll just roll with it. Everybody will be in line with me. But I'm going to ask them to drop back at the start of my next turn.
Start your next turn. Excellent. They are pressed in around you as the swarm, what remains of it, burning but moving, rushes across the bridge and slams into you all. You're up front, your villagers are up front around you as they begin to attack. That will be a 25 to hit.
See if I lose people.
Now that's going to be 18 damage. However, reduced, that is going to be only 9 damage to you and to your villagers, and no one on your team dies. You see these burning hands reaching out, cinders flying as burning fingers arc through the air. Paddy ducks down as a rusted scimitar, swings overhead. Not Paddy, pardon me, Tam Tamson.
I was going to say,
Paddy, what are you doing here? But yes, they take 9 damage, and you do, and no one is dead on this turn as we go over to leaving you pressed in among the burning remains of the zombies. And remaining with a theme of fire, we go over to the inferno in which Glut is currently dancing.
So how many zombies are on my end? Do I still have most of the swarm to go, or have I done a good 10?
About half of the swarm is swarming around you, a little bit less than half.
A little bit less than half. Okay, well, in that case, start of my turn, because I turned around to see like kill the zombies that are trying to run away from me. I'll see all like the villagers just standing there, and I'll scream for them to come forward. I'll be like, "Don't let me have all the fun. Come and bloody your hands, my friends." So as they're pressing up, I want to try and make some space for them, and I'm going to once again just recklessly attack.
Absolutely.
So attack number 1 is another nat 20. I love rolling with advantage.
Hell yeah.
Attack number 2 is a nat 1 and a 10. So what's that? 18.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I've attacked with both of them, I get to pommel strike, and that pommel strike is it's a 7 and a 7 plus 8. That last one is a 15.
Give us the damage.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay, so once again... no, more maths! This is when the less fun part comes in. Alright, 5, 5, 10, 13. 13 plus 6 is 19, and then 19 plus 21 is 40. Bang on 40. 40 damage.
I mean, they're there's not that many of them left. There were 6 seconds ago, and you just start spinning round, cutting them down, slamming in with the pommel, multiple strikes on every side. The ranks are beginning to thin before you.
And with that, I'll end my turn.
In that case, they are going to press in and attack both you and your compatriots. That'll be a 26 to hit. That will be 12, so 6 damage to the villagers, 3 damage to yourself.
Sweet.
But that is the first damage your villagers have taken, so they're doing relatively well as the very beleaguered horde presses in.
Do they still
around
take
you.
their fire damage?
Oh yes, they do, and that will be a further 4 points of fire damage just for being in the vicinity still. Again, now with the villagers and you there, they are not getting out. They are just trapped here with the flames all around them.
Nice.
In that case, we jump over to Zell. You've got full-scale, like hand-to-hand street fighting going on down below you.
Yeah. I guess... yeah, I'm just gonna have to fire 3 more arrows for now.
Go for
So,
it.
I feel really conflicted about that. So the first one is an 18 to hit.
That hits.
And that does 10 damage. Second one is 26 to hit.
Definitely hits.
And that does 11 damage. And the third one is 20 to hit, which also hits.
Dirty or natural?
Nah, dirty.
No, still.
And that does 9 damage. So, yeah, at the moment, Zell's just kind of trying to rain arrows down on these guys as much as possible to help the villagers.
At this point, you've kind of set it up so that the zombies are basically fish in a barrel down below you. They are not retreating. They cannot get forward to the villagers right now. Perfect target for you to just start sniping on them. 3 arrows, lance down, cutting down multiple zombies in the horde as the villagers brace, holding that line. Anything else you want to do up there?
No, at the moment she's all good.
Zombies are going to attack your villagers, but they're rolling pretty poorly. Let me just check what the villagers' AC is. That is just going to miss by 1 as the zombies press in. You can see that a couple of them are moving forward to actually take down. You can see Paddy has sort of staggered down to 1 knee. One of the zombies brings the axe up overhead. You fire an arrow. One of your arrows takes that zombie down. As that zombie goes down, he crashes into the one next to him. The 2 of them fall in a tangle on the ground, and no one from your side takes a damage this turn as we go back to the top of the round with Boglach.
So, how many kind of zombies are there on the side with us?
Right now, there's about 24 burning zombies on your side of the river.
24? Have they reached us yet?
Yes, they are. They're
Oh,
up
yeah,
front,
they-
sort of pressing in around you.
So if the villagers drop back, they'll take attacks of opportunity. Okay. In that case, I'm not going to ask them to drop back. I'll ask them to sort of keep with me. And I am going to... I don't really want to use any more big spell slots. Could I wild shape into a dire wolf, I want to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like you get dire wolves in, I don't want to say Scotland, but
Well, you used to. You used to.
I'm sure you did. Is a dire wolf good though? Would Boglak have seen a bear before?
I think Boglak up north, yeah, but in fact, your clan is from the same area as a lot of the werebears live. So you've definitely encountered bears before.
Oh. In that case,
Can't believe
If I
that's never
could.
come up before.
What?
I would transform into a bear.
Hell yeah.
I'd turn to Tam because I imagine it's a very scary scene at the moment. Like, we're getting rained on by, and Boglak was hoping to get a clean sweep, but I think some might fall. But Boglak's going to try and be more jovial. Kind of take the other extreme of telling them off for celebrating and be weirdly celebratory. and go, Tam, have you heard this one? Up north, there's a clan of werebears. And they just rip into things and, oh, you should see it. And almost like wide-eyed, like a little bit, just looking like they're out of this world a wee bit. Boglak's just going to slowly describe these werebears and seeing bears in the forest as a young kid and then slowly transform into a bear and try and take the brunt of the attacks. I know it's half-half, but just is going to try and roar and get the attention of this swarm. Stop any more villagers from dying.
Tam Tamsin looks from the burning zombies directly in front of him, wide-eyed, terrified, looks around towards you. You're speaking this slightly fevered, strangely energized voice, and you can see at first almost concern goes over his face as he's like, he's gone mad. You've taken leave of your senses, and then as you transform into that bear, rising up, hair bristling out over your skin, fear kind of fills his eyes, and then he sees you're facing towards the zombies, and a glint comes into his own eyes. He doesn't know what is going on, but he turns around, realizing that you're on his side and you are facing the zombies alongside him. He turns around.
I was going to say, just because that's an action to change, could I bonus action a healing word to whoever, if we're all kind of together, maybe as I transform I put a hand and as I'm telling this kind of story, maybe it does something to heal them.
Absolutely, you
just
can
keep
make
talking about how they kept eating the berries and it empowered them. Until you feel the power course through you, and I'd use a healing word while turning half into a bear.
How much do you heal them for?
So it's just a bonus action. It's 2d4 plus 5. So it's going to be 9. So yeah, basically heal them back up to where they
Full
were as 9
health.
healing.
You cast that light over your companions, bringing them back up to their full health. You've not lost anyone yet, and they're all looking pretty, despite the intensity of the situation. They're feeling robust. They've seen a lot of these zombies just go down, and they're starting to think they might yet see out the night. At that moment, the zombies are going to attack against all of you, of course. That'll be a dirty 20.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's going to be 12 reduced, so you're both going to take 6 damage. And again, everyone is still on their feet for now as the burning zombies sort of press in amongst your crowd. People take damage. You can see blood spraying down the face. Tam has a trickle of blood running down over one eye, but everyone is still standing as they take that damage. At this moment, can you all roll a d20?
Oh no.
And I need to know who rolls the lowest.
13.
Okay.
13.
9.
13.
Oh, Doglach, you are on a 9. Which is kind of fitting because we're on your turn. You turn into a bear, you cast that healing light, and you see your companions rally around you, and Tam nods and goes, "We might yet get through this," and lifts up his rudimentary weapon as they press in against the zombies. At that moment, Doglach, you hear the beating of wings. You look up and you see in the darkness above, lit from below by the burning flames of the infernos throughout the village, the pale, elongated form, humanoid, and yet profoundly inhuman, as Thazrael the angel begins to descend from the darkened sky above, through the clouds of smoke from the burning bridge, wings spread, eyes fixed upon you, 2 white stars burning from beneath the tangle of silver hair that falls down across the angel's face. And that is where we will leave tonight's session as
You
Thazrael
bastard.
joins the
You
fray.
Absolute bastard.
Yeah. Come on.
It was the perfect place to leave it.
Yes,
so.
indeed. And next week,
This angel's going to ruin my clean sweep. I was looking for a clean score sheet going into this next campaign.
these are people's lives.
Unfair
at stake.
advantage.
They're playing.
It's home advantage. I'm just the away team. Oh,
I love the idea that everyone else comes back, like Zell is like traumatized, and then Boglach is like, "Look, on my score sheet, I've got only this many dead villagers," and Zell's like, "Oh
I
my
kept
god."
my 10 villagers alive.
Um,
What did you do?
Thank you so much for watching, and if you stuck this far, you are one of the small and dedicated gang who are going to watch this entire campaign. I'm very excited for you to see the finale. I'm terrified to find out what happens in the finale, but next week we will be back to find out the fate of the Fallen. Check out Art of Job and Nerdiest Maximus over on Instagram and Patreon, respectively, and we will see you next week.